All right, starting the assembly. Cases are all cleaned up here. We're going to push in some bearings.
Makes me nervous.
Going perfect. Nothing to be nervous about. It's only the whole side of your engine.
And when it gets down to there,
You're done. Nothing to it. No ovens or freezers required. Okay, new main seals put in. Both sides, they just got to sit flat. It's just a matter of finding which seal goes where. Because you got a whole pile of different size ones. Two of those are going to go on the outside, and you got one of them is your water pump.
so
So that's shift shaft, that's output shaft. That should be it for this side. This side is just the engine seal, because this is all a wet side anyways, right? It's all your transmission oil, clutch, everything's in here. So you're going to have two here. You're going to have your water pump seal, and you're going to have your Kickstarter seal. And in this case, we got a really bad water pump. You can see those grooves, a lot of corrosion. There's no way in hell that this is ever going to seal, so we're going to get a new one. Okay, transmission ready to go in here. Easiest way to do it, this is your output shaft side, that's your input shaft side. So it's going to sit like so. Both pieces together, gears meshed, and you just slide her in like so. Okay, don't worry about that gear doing that, that's normal. Lost our washer, but there she is. That big washer goes back on the end of that. So there's your transmission in place. Don't worry that it's clashing. It's because none of these are slid into the right spots yet. And I'm putting it on a hammer so that that input shaft doesn't get pushed out while I'm working. Shift drum. Take note of the little pin. This one comes out real easy. In fact, we had to figure out what it was for when it landed on the bench. Okay, so when you look at that, you have to figure out which way is which. The one with the pin is what lines up into this. This sits on the other side of the housing. So you can see that pin is trading places here. So your pin side is going to go down. And that will push into the bearing. Like so. Should roll straight and smooth. If it's wobbly, you're not all the way in. Okay, now you got your shift arms and pins. All right, easy to remember. The pin side goes to the shift drums. Okay, so on the slidey gear, into the shift drum, like so, slide on the pin. Now for your other one, okay, they look almost identical, but they're not. You can see they say on them right and left. Pin, thin side down. And same thing, find which gears are your sliders. In this case, the right one is way down at the bottom. And the left one is right there. Oops, all right, that's backwards. Pins in, and again, you have to rotate your shift drum till they got a spot to go into. This one will be at the top, and this guy right there. Doesn't really matter what gear it's in, just so long as you get them in the right spot. There you go. Transmission is together.
yeah, good job.
Okay, install on the crankshaft. Right and left side, the tapered side here is your flywheel side. So that'll be the left side of the engine as you were sitting on it. Okay, it's only going to go in so far before it needs pushing. So that's about where she goes for now. There we go. It really doesn't take that much pressure. Like this is one finger. There you go.
Voila. Just like that.
Alright, time to install the side. Got fresh gasket, all new seals. And the trick to that one is making sure your transmission gears go into the right spots. Sometimes they need a little gentle persuasion. That's the ticket. So what's happening here is you've got your output shaft's good, but your pins for your shifters that go here and here, and your input shaft end goes into here, plus you've got your shift drum which will sit down in this area. All those things need to go right into their spot, so it does take a little bit of finagling here. Plus you got your crankshaft which is trying to press fit itself on.
So, in this case, what do I do?
Case bolts. Use the case bolts here to pull this side down. Alright, putting the case back on here. This one you want to be gentle, and all we did was find some of the bolts, thread them in, and for us the shift drum that sits under here was a little bit of a problem, so we reached in and just tapped it with a screwdriver and it popped right in. Now we're just tightening down the back and the front evenly, and for the front we're using the engine mount bolt because that's a good heavy chunk of aluminum we're not going to damage, and you can also use some other ones if you're so inclined. Okay, case is back together. We just used our front bolts here to pull the front in, so because of the crankshaft sliding into the bearing, and so that we didn't get our case going warped. A couple bolts here, big long ones. These aren't the right ones, they're actually the longer ones that go here, and you could use them to pull it in evenly. And again, just spinning the transmission gears and the tap here and there is all it took. And you can see she's all back in. Now we just gotta put the rest of our bolts into place.
Bottom end. Great.
Okay, case bolts are now in. This gasket here you have to trim. This part here was connected, so we just took a sharp razor blade and trimmed it on the cylinder surfaces. Alright, and cut away this part here was connected, so we had to cut that away. No bolts go here. There's your timing mark in the case. Not that there's a whole lot of adjustment here. Okay, and it lines up with that line right there. Okay, so very, very little adjustment, if any, on these Hondas. And then that's held in with these two bolts. Okay, torquing up the case bolts, 7 pounds or 84 inch-pounds.
Just did a complete rebuild from crank up. We're gonna have a pause here till next Saturday when the weather's warmer for colder beer. And
Yeah.
we're going to finish assembling, putting the piston in, the top end on, the side cover on, the clutch back in, and if you look over here to the bike to the left, it'll be a new machine Saturday afternoon.
There you go.